Good morning. So you would have seen I posted a video on Virgin Queen introduction and how I bank my Virgin Queens. So I'm just loading up this morning to go off for the day, but I just wanted to get those few questions answered by an extra video today, because I think I should have mentioned a little bit more in the video. Excuse the heavy breathing. I've just got this lot in from the veranda, and these will go off with me for the day. That's the last of the 8. I just wanted to add a few points to that last video to point out a couple of things about Virgin Queens. The first thing is, obviously, Virgin Queens are non-mated. And if you've got to ask yourself, when you think about Virgin Queens, and when you think about the state of a colony, what state of a queen would the receiving bees in my colony now be expecting? Because that's the question you've got to ask yourself. Whether you're adding a non-mated virgin or a mated queen that is non-laying, or a laying queen, they're all in different conditions. So if you add a runny virgin, because I've got some runny virgins now that you saw that I banked, and I'm going to get a load more to take out with me. Let's close these doors because little sensors like to lead to mayhem in here if I didn't close the doors properly. So if you're adding a running virgin, that running virgin has a few useful attributes in its current state, okay? It is pretty dynamic. It is not emitting strong queen pheromones. So it's not attracting attention to itself. And as I said, because it's runny, it generally avoids being killed. And you can use, it's well known, you can run a running virgin into a box of bees that is drone laying because they've lost their queen, and very often it will sort the problem out. You're better off adding a frame of brood first, of emerging brood, to flood that colony with nurse bees, and also to give that colony some pheromone containing brood, because brood pheromone switches off laying workers. If you don't know that, try it. When you get a colony of laying workers, take a frame of emerging brood and add it to a colony, and you will see that no more drone is laid by the then females that have taken over and started laying. They stop. And that's one way of rectifying the colony. But the problem with laying workers is it uses a lot of resources, and it's not always the answer in a colony that's already depleted. So you have to think about that. But getting back to the question in hand, a running virgin is a really good tool because it's very dynamic. Okay, but if you're adding a mated queen, the bees might take a little bit longer to accept her. So that's why we either put her in a mailing cage and leave it closed until a couple of days after, and then there's been that interaction between the cage front and the bees on the outside. And also you've had time to remove any other queen cells they've made, because often when you introduce a queen, they want to make their own queen from their own genetics, not the one you've put in. So you knock those cells off, wait a couple more days, and then you can undo the candy plug, and 9 times out of 10, or maybe 99 times out of 100, she'll be accepted. Obviously, the best way is the pushing cage method, but you've got to get a nice pushing cage over the top of that queen. You've got to get it under the pushing cage on some emerging brood and some nectar, so that the emerging bees only know that queen when they emerge. The queen has no bees at the start, but she's got nectar. And as those bees emerge, they will start to care for her and love her and feed her. She comes into lay, and then the bees on the outside of the colony start to accept her as well. And then before you know it, in 5 days' time, you've got a laying queen under the cage that's accepted in the colony. That those pheromones are being emitted from that queen, and everybody is happy. And you see those bees touching each other? That's what they're doing. They're spreading queen substance. They are telling all the other bees the queen is here, and they will spread that message throughout the colony. And that, in a nutshell, is how it works. But you've got to remember that in all your queen rearing, that you're trying, it's all very well raising queens and getting them mated. You've got to, the very last hurdle is introducing a queen to a colony, and you've got to know the state of the colony and find the best way that works for you to introduce that queen to that colony at that particular state, at that particular time, in that particular area, with those current set of weather conditions. That's all I can say, because if you follow that general rule, you have more successes. Some people can just seem to buy them a queen online, stick it in, and then you see videos of them a week later going, look at all these brood, look at all this. That's fine. But when you're dealing with more colonies, you do get percentages, but you have to work out what works for you in your area. Okay, so the other question I had this morning was, do I put the queen above the excluder? What's the actual setup? Well, you saw the queens were above an excluder, but in the box beneath, there's no excluder because I believe that is still a queenless colony. But as you saw, one of the virgins had escaped. So very soon, that will become a non-queenless colony, and that is probably the best way to introduce the queen that I've done into that colony. Because all those bees over there, they're all going off to the buckwheat, because I've got 6 hectares of buckwheat to pollinate. Whether we get any buckwheat honey, I don't know. I've agreed to it, so I'm honouring the job. I could turn around and say, well, there's no rain, it looks like they're going to have nothing. But at the end of the day, it gets those bees out of the way from there, and I put them aside for that job. But back to the question at hand again, because I do digress. You can bank queens, and you can add some nurse bees to each queen in each cage, which is a good idea. But you've got to be sure you're adding a couple of nurse bees. So shake a frame out into a bucket, walk away a bit, let the bees fly off that are worker bees, because then the bees that are left are nurse bees, and they'll just sit there while you put a couple in each cage, if you want to do that. Because it does help pass food from the outside to the inside of the colony. But in my particular case, my argument is I don't generally bother when I'm using an old cell builder, because recently that's had a lot of young nurse bees in it. Okay, so that is the reason why. If you want to bank queens, I would always advise putting the queens banked above an excluder, because it keeps the stress away from the queen. The queen in the colony, in other words, the current queen that is in charge of that colony, she'll like to go up and inspect and walk all over the cages that have got the queens you're banking in. And it stresses the queens out, because they know they want to kill her, and vice versa. So take that stress away. Always put your queens above an excluder. And also, if any get out, they won't kill, any virgins get out, they won't kill the queen that's underneath. You know, it just stops that possibility of problems. And yes, some colonies look after bees better than others. I've had some colonies that are atrocious for banking with, and also atrocious for cell building with, but I have the colonies that you seem to do nothing with, and they all survive. So it's just a couple of points I wanted to add to that last video, because it's really important that you understand the reasons why you might want to bank a few queens. And as I said, the best place to have virgin queens is in a colony. So don't bank them because you can. Bank them because you need to, because you're pulling your honey, because you're absolutely snowed under with other problems, or the weather's crap, or you just can't get them in for a couple of days. That's the reason you need to stick to. Bees need to be in boxes. Don't use your chance of, oh, I can bank them because I can, as an excuse. Get them in to a colony as quick as you can. It will give you the best acceptance and the best chance. What I'm doing is going around just doing the best I can. It's not the ideal solution, but I would rather add a virgin queen that I made myself that cost me virtually nothing than a lovely €30 queen that I got sent to me in the post that I would rather give to a nuke I made that contains a lot of nurse bees and nice bees that are going to be more likely to accept her. That's the difference for me. But I'm going to be making another load of cells up next week, because I've got a couple of really strong colonies that will stay here, and I'll make them queenless and combine them with my old cell builder when that's empty, and I will basically make cells and use them on day 3, so I can quickly get cells into mini pluses, because I need to use my mini plus. There's a load of mini plus waiting to be breaking down. A few have swarmed, because I would have done this usually 2 weeks ago. But you know, things are a little bit different this year, and I'm a little bit behind, but you know, what else can you do? So anyway, just bear those points in mind about virgin queens. They are a massively useful thing in the right scenario. And I say it again, in the right scenario. It's not always the best thing, but they are a great tool because they do a lot of things and they can adapt. And they are out there getting mated quickly. If you introduce a queen that's 3 or 4 days old, it's likely she'll be back within another 2 or 3 days mated because she wants to go. And if you get her in the colony and she runs around, off she goes, then all the best. Brilliant. Okay, hope you enjoy that and put those things into place because they're good little points that will help me a lot.